This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello, ho there. It's Jeff Cardano. Welcome to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, on Valentine's Day, it's not a love story, but anyway, it's Valentine's Day, 1995. As Clyde the Glide Drexler has been traded from the Portland Trail Blazers to the Houston Rockets. It would be a big trade for Houston. Now, the 95 Houston Rockets actually, shockingly, were huge. They were 29-17 at the All-Star break. So against about 500, that's not a big problem for Houston. I mean, they needed to provide for themselves and their team, their fans. But Houston just needed that little bit of push. And luckily, Portland, who were not doing so hot, were willing to get rid of Clyde Drexler. So the Rockets decided to trade Otis Thorpe, who was a pretty good power forward, to Portland for Clyde Drexler and for Tracy Murray, although Tracy Murray would be more memorable for his exploits with the Raptors. But anyway, Clyde the Glide would go back to Houston. How? Well, Clyde Drexler was a member of the Houston Cougars, who were trying to win an NCAA tournament, but somehow could not. They went to the finals. I believe they went to the finals in 83 and 84, coming up short on both ends. 83 was the heartbreaking one to NC State on that Wittenberg to Lorenzo Charles kind of alley-oop, but it counted, and NC State won at the buzzer, making them the ultimate Cinderella in play. And then they went back to the finals in 84 and saw that, they lost to Patrick Ewing and Georgetown, who finally got their title, in a sense. But anyway, Drexler and Hakeem were teammates at the University of Houston. Drexler left after 83 to join the NBA, if memory serves me right. Yeah, because Hakeem was the number one pick in the 84 draft, that fatal draft that Portland decided to go with Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. A lot of people said that it was a dumb move. But Portland, in a sense, kind of had to go with Bowie because they needed a center. Because in the 80s, you needed to be dominant with a center like Hakeem and Robert Parrish were, like your Celtics. But then you also have the fact that, they had Clyde Drexler. They had John Paxson. Of course, Jim Paxson. No, John Paxson. But yeah, that was neither here nor there. Anyhow, so the Rockets were the defending champions. They needed to do something. They did sign Chucky Brown midway through the season. The funny thing was that Drexler was going to help Houston be champions and all that, and basically be the best team in the West. And the only problem was, after the trade, ironically, they were 18-18. So they only won 47 games, which was unusual. Anyway, although Drexler in 35 games after the trade put up 21.4 points, which was pretty amazing and all that. The Rockets still had to go through a tough time and all that. They had Clyde Drexler. They also had people like Tim Burrell, Chucky Brown, Sam Cassell, Pete Chilcutt, Mario Elie, Carlos Herrera, Robert Horry, Charlie Jones, Vernon Maxwell, Tracy Murray, Hakeem, Kenny Smith, and Jean Tabak, who would also find his way to the Raptors somehow. I think it was in the expansion draft. So anyway, Houston won 47 games. The only problem was they were third in their own division because San Antonio and Utah crushed it. San Antonio won 62 games, Utah won 60. The Spurs, they felt, deserved it because David Robinson was helping the Spurs out, and they had Dennis Rodman for a little bit. And Utah, well, Miller and Stockton were gelling. So San Antonio were the one seed in the Western Conference going to the playoffs. And Houston were the 6th seed. So Houston felt uneasy, a little queasy, if you will. The 95 Rockets faced Utah in the first round and actually were down 2-1 to the 3 seed Jazz. But they won on home turf, 123-106, and then they had to go to Utah in the Delta Center on NBC and won 95-91 thanks to Elijah's 33 points. Drexler put up 10 rebounds. In the Western semifinals, they took on Phoenix, who were the 2 seed. And they were down 3-1 to the Suns. So it looked like Phoenix was going to crush them on home turf, but somehow in a key overtime game, Elijah produced, and then back home in the Summit, they won 116-103. So it was Game 7, NBC. But let's not forget that clutch shot by one, if I can remember that guy, by one Mario Ellie, who made the clutch shot in Game 7 against the Suns, who helped the Rockets get to the conference finals against the Spurs. Shockingly enough, they started off well in San Antonio. They actually won both games in San Antonio to start the game. Elijah put up some good numbers, 41 points in Game 2. San Antonio in Game 3 and 4 would go back to Houston and win. However, the Rockets were not upset. They went back to San Antonio, won Game 5, and then took Game 6 on home turf to go back to the NBA Finals, in which they swept the Orlando Magic with Shaq and Penny Hardaway. So Houston, out of somewhere, it actually worked out for the Rockets. They did win the title after all, but it was like a tough thing and all that. The Rockets are the lowest seed to win an NBA championship, still as the 6th seed in 1995. But it worked out. Clyde the Glide played a few more years with Houston. Vernon Maxwell went to Philly, but then he had punched a fan during a game in Portland, which gave him a 10-game suspension. And he actually left the team during the playoffs, which is like treason. But the Rockets still won. I don't think Maxwell got it a ring. But anyway, Tracy Murray would sign with the Raptors. Carl Herrera went with Spurs, and Sean Tabak went to the expansion draft, and the Raptors claimed him. So, in essence, that Clyde Drexler trade did help Houston win the title, although it was unconventional. And they actually, in the regular season, did worse winning percentage-wise than before they got him. But it still worked out. Drexler is a Houston hero, and they did win a championship, so why bother on those schematics? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.